We are the world's oldest continuing culture, and our cultures are thriving, and that is worth celebrating.
We get to create this shared vision of what we want our classrooms to look like now, where it's not tokenistic, but it's authentically embedded in everything we do.
In times of doubt, I only need to think of those who have come before me to find strength.
Making sure that I have a range of rich text written by Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander illustrators and authors, and using it as a tool to show kids.
Legacy is about the stories, languages, land-based knowledges and ways of being that our old people have passed down to us.
Welcome to Rainbow Skies for Teachers, the go-to show dedicated to teachers who want to make a big difference in education. Whether you're in your first few years or well into your teaching career, we are here to inspire, support and empower you with bite-sized tips, simple strategies and the motivation to lead an education revolution, one classroom at a time.
We're Ashley and Alicia from Rainbow Sky Creations, two Aussie teachers who love all things teaching and learning. We are here to help you thrive as you work toward making an impact in your students' lives while loving your life as a teacher.
We are here to help you bring joy, simplicity and creativity into your classroom on the daily, because
there are rainbows ahead, my friend, and together we're unstoppable.
Let's get into today's episode.
We would like to acknowledge
The traditional custodians
Of the land,
On which we are recording today, the Wilman and Kanyang people,
the Kombumerri people of the Yugambeh language group,
the Dark and Young people,
the Pinjarrat people on Noongar Budja,
The Dharawal people,
and Wujak Noongar people.
We pay our respects to their elders,
past
present,
and emerging.
And extend that respect
to all Aboriginal and
Torres Strait Islander peoples listening,
may we continue to walk together
to create a future that
Honours their strength,
vision.
and legacy.
Hello, welcome to Rainbow Skies for Teachers. As you probably heard by the beginning of this episode and our acknowledgement of country, today's episode is going to be a little bit different and so fabulous. I'm going to be joined by Aboriginal teachers and allies to talk about this week's NAIDOC Week theme.
This year's theme is the next generation, strength, vision, and legacy.
I asked our friends today to think about and reflect upon this year's theme, and we wanted to help you as teachers get this theme and make it come alive in your classroom. So let's begin by introducing some of our friends, and they're going to share different ways that you can acknowledge some of these themes in your classroom.
Warrami, I am Leslie Woodhouse from Wingaroo Education. I'm a proud Burra Borongo Darug woman, and I am excited to see teachers embrace this year's NAIDOC theme, the next generation, strength, vision and legacy. One of the things that I hope teachers bring into their NAIDOC activities this year is recognition of the strength that Aboriginal communities demonstrate every day. We are the world's oldest continuing culture, and our cultures are thriving, and that is worth celebrating. One way you could look at strength is to look at how culture has changed from pre-invasion to now. Consider the changes. Why have the changes happened? How do the changes keep culture strong? What elements are the same? And how do these elements show a strength that exists at the very core of culture? Considering the strength of our people is another way teachers can engage with strength. Explore the stories of the people who have been working hard for our communities, rights, and conditions. These advocates and change makers are so inspiring, and their diverse legacies are stories that all Australians should know. There are so many deadly people that you could look at and learn from. There are, of course, the high-profile people who have done or are doing amazing things, but it is also worth looking at the people in your local community.
Kaya, my name is Brooke Cuthbertson. I'm a proud Palawa woman, a teacher, and the founder of Lina Learning, an Aboriginal education consultancy committed to supporting culturally responsive and sustaining education. This year's NAIDOC theme, the next generation, strength, vision and legacy, really speaks to the heart of my practice. But it's the word legacy that I'd like to yarn with you about today. For me, legacy is about the stories, languages, land-based knowledges and ways of being that our old people have passed down to us. It's about honouring those who walked before us by ensuring that the next generation not only remembers but carries forward this deep cultural connection in every space, especially in our classrooms. One way that I infuse legacy into my teaching is through story. I often use First Nations literature with students. not just as a reading resource, but as an entry point to explore concepts such as identity, connection to country, and cultural continuity. Books by First Nations authors are powerful tools for sparking curiosity and respectful conversation. In one lesson, we read the book Found by Bruce Pascoe. It's a story that follows a young calf taken from its family, and it's told in a way that helps children begin to understand the experiences of the stolen generations. We learned about the feelings of loss, confusion, and longing expressed in the book, and how these feelings mirror the stories of many Aboriginal children who were taken from their families. Students created their own poems describing a time that they felt lost and then safe again. It was a gentle and respectful way to honour the legacy of truth-telling and to help children to build empathy and awareness at a developmentally appropriate level.
Hello, my name is Erin from Miss_Broughton, and today I will be focusing on this year's NAIDOC Week theme, the next generation, strength, vision and legacy, and talking a little bit about the word strength as a word that stands out for me. I think that as a non-Indigenous teacher, straight off the back, choosing the virtues of honesty and respect and enthusiasm in saying to my students, hey, I think it is so cool that you are part of the oldest continuous living culture in the world. Your background and culture is absolutely amazing. And some people in our class might only be learning a little bit about it now from last year, from the year before, depending on the age of the kids. And I would love for you to help me to teach them everything about this in the best way possible. I will also pair this with the idea of the fridge. So what I've found best is making sure that I always have a space in my classroom, a blank slate, thinking of it like your fridge at home in the kitchen. It is a space where all of your proudest work, all of the great learning that you have done, and all of those moments are put up on display for anyone who walks into your home to see. And I acknowledge that some kids might not have a space like that, and using that as a point to make it even more important to say, hey, I'm really invested and I would like to create a space just for your work, just for your learning, and it can be anything that you want to show me. And at the start, that might not even be really specific learnings about culture. It is just about making that relationship. And once we have lit that spark, that space becomes all about embedding Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander perspectives into our classroom and really helping to build strength in my students and confidence as a place where they can show their voice and talk about their culture. So a few things that I have had students supported with and put on their wall. Noongar is the local language where I am from, and I had a student who was learning Noongar words at home. So every time this student would learn a new word in Noongar, they would come in, they could choose whatever medium they would like, whether it be textures, whether it be paint, whether it be pastels, and they could write it. This student was super creative, so they would write and represent it and make it beautiful and colourful. They could then add images to it, whether these be from home, we would print them off, we would find them and make this a really interactive fridge front space. We also had a list up of days of cultural significance and importance, and I would always make sure to plan a few weeks ahead and say, hey, is there anything on this day that you would like us to learn about? Did you want to have a think about something that you might like to put on the fridge? And that might be taken from a lesson that I pre-planned to do in the classroom. That might come from a conversation that I have with someone in their family, with another colleague, with our AIEO. It can really come and stem from anywhere, but it is just about taking those opportunities and creating those moments that allow my students' voices to not only be heard, but to start fostering them being the ones that lead this and really lead the way. And just making sure that at the forefront of your mind as a teacher, you are encouraging a deep respect for their words, for their ideas, and actioning this as a way to really represent their culture. And I then think to continue to foster this idea is making sure that I have a range of rich text written by Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander illustrators and authors, and using it as a tool to show kids, hey, these kids are now adults, they were just like you, and they found it really important to share their culture with others. You could do this too. This little boy in this book, they're now an adult that wrote this book, and using literacy as a tool that really can show them this is a little kid that was just like you and they chose to share their culture, and I'm so grateful for it because now I can use that book as your teacher and show that to our class and share that with other people. So it could be anything from making a word book up from using the words that your student is learning. It could be from finding objects in nature. It can be from learning about events and things that they're doing at home or in the community and making sure that that idea and that fridge front space where they are able to put whatever they would like and proudly display it is embedded throughout the year. I'm then able to take this idea of the fridge into their next classroom. So I can say to their next teacher, hey, my kids had this designated space where any learning and anything they wanted to share with us about culture was put on this space. And often I would have kids say to that next teacher, hey, Mr. Mrs. such and such, when I was in Miss Broughton's room, we had this space, and where can I put all of my awesome fridge work for you? So it was just another way of making a proud work wall and having ownership of a space. And I think that's really important for making sure that we help students to know their own strength and to create that within our classroom and community.
Hi, I'm Aaron from Mr. J's Learning Space. This year's NAIDOC Week theme, The Next Generation, Strength, Vision and Legacy, is an absolutely beautiful theme, and it really stands out to me for the word vision, which really makes me think of the work that we do in classrooms every single day, because we have the opportunity to create with the next generation a vision of what we want our world to look like, and it starts with the classrooms that we are in every single day. So for me, when I think of vision, I start to think about what is possible with what our classrooms can look like, and for me it's about helping create a place where Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander perspectives, they're not an add-on, they're not an extra, but they're just a normal part of the work we do every single day, where we don't actually have to highlight that we're doing this activity and it's got an Aboriginal or Torres Strait Islander perspective, because it's just organically ingrained in the things we do, from picking up a book to read, doing an icebreaker or a brain break that has an Aboriginal or Torres Strait Islander lens on it. Perhaps it's a traditional game from one of the amazing, incredible nations across our country. We get to create this shared vision of what we want our classrooms to look like now, where it's not tokenistic, but it's authentically embedded in everything we do, that we don't necessarily have to point it out because it's just a part of who we are. It's a part of our everyday lives. And I think for me, the word vision is a great opportunity for us, because we get to start creating that every single day with the next generation in our classrooms.
Yiradil Marang, good day. I'm Jordan from the Yulang Effect. I'm a proud Wiradjuri, Nimbam, Bakanji, Yina, Guni, and Yalmam Budain, woman, mother, and teacher. In this year's NAIDOC Week theme, The Next Generation, Strength, Vision and Legacy, the word legacy stands out to me. Legacy begins with those who have come before us, the bravery, resistance and strength of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people who have survived genocide, fought through oppression, displacement and theft. I am strong and proud as an Aboriginal woman because of my elders and ancestors. In times of doubt, I only need to think of those who have come before me to find strength, and I only need to think of the generations to come for vision. The word legacy prompts us to think about what we want to contribute to our communities and society as a whole, while we are living, and how we hope to be remembered when we pass. It's what is given to us from our ancestors, old people and elders, and through us what we give to our young people and future generations. And this continues when our young people become our old people. For NAIDOC Week, one powerful activity for schools is to explore the strength and vision that Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples have demonstrated for generations. This year marks the 50th anniversary of the National NAIDOC Committee, and every NAIDOC theme and poster since 1975 tells a story, a moment in time, a movement, a message of power, resilience and hope. Teachers, I encourage you to bring these posters into your classrooms. Let students explore the themes, trace the advocacy, highlight how NAIDOC itself was born from protest on January 26, a demand for truth, recognition and justice. When our students see our elders and old people standing up time and time again, not just for themselves but for future generations, they begin to understand what legacy really means. And from there, ask them, what do you want to contribute? How do you want to be remembered? This can be an inspiring and empowering NAIDOC activity that links directly to the theme and opens up space for deeper thinking and action.
I love how everyone so generously shared how to embed some of these ideas around this year's NAIDOC Week theme into our classrooms. Next up, we asked our friends one way we can guide the next generation to embrace strength, vision, and legacy in the school setting. And here is what they said.
I think one of the best ways that we can guide our next generation to embrace strength, vision, and legacy is really about looking back and having honest truth-telling in our schools and in our classrooms, obviously in an age-appropriate way, but making sure that the next generation don't grow up, I guess, in the way that I did as a student, getting to my adult years and really uncovering the real truth of our history and the impacts on Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples that I was completely unaware of growing up. But I think in order for us to support the next generation to embrace strength, vision, and legacy, it starts by looking back, so then we can create that strength of knowing where we've come from, have that vision of where we're going, and start a new legacy that sets up our journey towards much deeper and richer reconciliation. And so for me, it's almost in line with this year's Reconciliation Week theme, bridging now to next and really going back and looking at where we've come from, where we are now, and then helping walk out where we want to go as a nation. And it starts with the actions that we all take every single day to make sure that the next generation walks forward in strength with a clear vision and leaves a different legacy behind for the generations to come.
Educators can contribute to legacy by creating classroom environments that centre Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander voices, not just during Reconciliation Week and NAIDOC Week, but all year round. That means using Aboriginal authored texts, collaborating with local elders, inviting community members in to speak, and allowing culture to live, breathe, and lead their learning.
I believe that we can guide the next generation to embrace strength, vision, and legacy in our classroom by remembering that it is all about empowerment for these students, letting them lead the way and feeling ownership of their culture.
There are so many deadly people doing great work. I believe we can guide the next generation to embrace strength, vision, and legacy in our classrooms by showcasing ways of working that encourage young people to recognise their own abilities to have impact, and by including a diverse range of role models. Teachers can inspire the next generation to embrace their skills and continue this important work. Wingaroo has a range of education resources, including a comprehensive NAIDOC pack. Check out the support we can provide during NAIDOC and beyond at wingaroo.com.au.
Yulung means ripple in Wiradjuri, and the Yulung effect is the ripple we create as educators. Legacy is how that ripple continues, through every child we teach, every classroom we shape, and every heart we touch. If you're looking for more ideas, resources, or support in leading First Nations education with truth, connection, and deep understanding, you can find me on the Instagram or Facebook at The Yulung Effect, or you can explore my website, www.theyulungeffect.com.au. Let's keep creating strong ripples for the next generation.
I don't think I could have wrapped up this episode any better than what Jordan did. Thank you to Jordan and all the other guests that we've had on our podcast today. All of their information is in the show notes if you want to connect further. So we're about to go, but there's just one more thing that we need to do. Are you ready?
Yeah, there's the rainbows and my friend, and together we're unstoppable.